On January 30th, 1943, Adolf Hitler promoted Friedrich Paulus to Field Marshal. Sounds like an honor, right? It was a death sentence. See, Hitler knew something. No German Field Marshal had ever surrendered in history, ever. So by giving Paulus this promotion, he wasn't rewarding him. He was telling him to put a bullet in his own head rather than give up. But here's what Hitler didn't expect. Paulus surrendered the very next morning. And what the German generals were writing in those final days, it's like reading the black box of a crashed plane. At first, the reports stayed professional, clinical military language, but as the Soviet ring tightened around 300,000 trapped German soldiers, the words started breaking down. Quartermaster reports stopped saying supply challenges. They started documenting that men were eating their horses. Then when the horses ran out, they boiled their leather boots and belts just to have something in their stomachs. One report simply read, "Consumption of horse carcasses complete. Units reporting consumption of leather equipment. Request guidance." No guidance ever came. Meanwhile, what was Hitler sending them? Messages about the honor of German arms and the eyes of history watching. You want to know what history was actually watching? Men freezing to death standing upright because there was no room to fall down. Soldiers going mad from cold and hunger. Medical officers documenting psychological breaks becoming an epidemic. And Goering, he had promised to fly in 300 tons of supplies every single day. You know what they actually received on most days? 60 tons, sometimes less. The generals couldn't write the Reich Marshal is a liar. So they just recorded the numbers, day after day. The gap between what was promised and what arrived. That silence between the lines. That's where 300,000 men were dying. The final official transmission tried to sound heroic, something about holding their position for Führer and Fatherland unto the end. But the real final messages, they were fragments, units reporting status then going silent, radio operators signing off without protocol, frequencies that just stopped. When Paulus finally surrendered, 91,000 German soldiers walked into Soviet captivity. You want to guess how many ever made it home? Fewer than 6,000. The rest died in camps from disease, from starvation, from the cold they thought they'd escaped. And Paulus, he lived. He testified at Nuremberg. He died in East Germany in 1957. But those final transmissions from Stalingrad, they're still out there. The actual voices of men realizing their own leadership had already written them off. That's the thing about history. It's not about the dates. It's about the exact moment someone realizes the plane is going down, and no one's coming to help.